the notion of human life, authentic human life, as journey or as headed towards a destination comes up in the forums a little bit, and it's super valuable because yeah, in some ways we kind of have to think of life as going according to some kind of story or narrative. Otherwise, it would just be a whole bunch of happenings with no point. So there has to be some kind of journey or narrative. One of the dangers, though, is thinking about it not as a journey that goes up and up, an endless escalator that goes up and never reaches the top, or I guess does when you die, something like that. That's the reason that that metaphor, that way of looking at the journey, is unhelpful, is because it plays into kind of the cultures, especially First World West American cultures, notion that what life is about is bigger and better, more and more, happier and happier. It has this kind of notion like this is what life is supposed to be like. Not that, when we talk about human life as a journey going up and up, typically that we're drawing that from something of John Wesley's theology. John Wesley did think of, I saw it once described in an essay as sort of like being on an escalator. You imagine two escalators kind of at the mall, right? One's going up, one's going down. And the way the Christian life is supposed to go is you get on at the bottom, you get saved or whatever, and sanctification is the process where you become more and more like God, an increase in holiness, as it were. And what happens in human life is unfortunately sometimes we step off the one that's going up, we step onto the one that's going down, we backtrack. And then we jump back on and we go a little bit farther. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Over time, it looks kind of like a constant, a linear sort of progression towards perfect holiness or perfect sanctification, total sanctification, however Wesley describes it. That may be the case. That may be what human life looks like. I wonder, though, if it might not be unhelpful to think of it that way, simply because the metaphor kind of pushes us into thinking that human life, whatever it is it's supposed to be on an upward trajectory towards the end, right? And Wesley isn't the only guy who thinks like this. If you've read, John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, there's something of this kind of thinking, where you could even conceive of Pilgrim's Progress as kind of that Wesleyan elevator, right? Where Pilgrim's going and makes mistakes, and then gets back on the path and makes mistakes, and that's kind of there's a different way of conceiving of it. There's a different way of conceiving of the journey, and that is just as a kind of a meandering path with a destination. And I think that's more what we get in something like C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters, right? In the Screwtape Letters, it's just a sense that life is just chock full of unexpected events, lots of different contexts, lots of different ways of going about business, ways of going about life. A lot of it's a little bit gray. A lot of it is a little bit like, oh, not quite sure what to do here. We're going to do our best, going to try and be wise about this. But by thinking of life like that, like not that we're headed up to this point, and the moment before we die is going to be our holiest moment, something like that. That's kind of that progression sort of way of looking at it. Instead, that the Christian life is a little more like walking on a winding path that ends up at your destination. And it's not that it's at the top of a hill and we're climbing up. It's just that the path winds. It just has different ups and downs and peaks and valleys, strikes and gutters. There's just a lot going on in life. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, but it's all part of the path, and the path itself is good. We're not instead of thinking about it as like oh no, I got off the path and now I ran off into the woods or whatever. No, the path itself is windy. The path itself is rocky. The path itself does go up and down. Life is messy. It's just not something that's cute and pure, and you can kind of imagine it as this escalator. That's just not how our experience of life is. By going that route, not knocking the move towards sanctification, I think that's all valuable. But by reconceiving of the journey differently and using a different metaphor rather than up and up, more of a windy, I think that we're better suited to give the lie to the culture's secular appropriation of Wesley and Bunyan's mythology, right? Because that's what the culture has done. It's taken this sort of pseudo-Christian sanctification path and said, well, forget holiness, that's dumb. Instead, we'll have the same vision of what life is supposed to be like, but we'll replace holiness with, I don't know, happiness or satisfaction or whatever it is that the culture says we should go after, right? And then by simply subverting the metaphor altogether, we're able to say not that the culture has the wrong destination, happiness rather than holiness, but that the culture misunderstands human life fundamentally. That what the culture is talking about just isn't authentic human life at all. It's a facsimile. It's not even a facsimile. It's just a mischaracterization altogether. And so by rethinking the metaphor, it's much easier to call out the post-Christian West for its failure to understand what Christian life is supposed to be, or life in general. Life, period. Human life is supposed to be.